Interesting quote coming out from the Juventus Chairman Andrea Agnelli a little earlier today. There needs to be a discussion about the opportunity to have direct access to these competitions because you are part of a great league. I have a lot of respect for Atalanta, said Agnelli, but they got into the Champions League on the back of one good season and without any history of international competition. Is that fair, he asked? Take Roma, who over the last few years have contributed to maintaining Italy's high UEFA ranking and yet miss out because of one bad season with all the financial implications that brings. We have to protect investments. Sid, I'm just going to let you loose on that Agnelli quote. Your reaction?
Well, I feel like I don't need to talk for very long. I feel I can give you the shortest answer I've ever given, albeit I'm now talking in a way that means it won't be quite so short. But let me answer very clearly. He says in that quote, is it fair? Yes.
Yeah. I don't think you'll get any argument from the boys here in the studio at all. It seems
where does it come from? I don't understand where this has come from. I could understand if there was a slight against his club in some sort of way. Or if he in fact was the boss of Roma, I could see where his argument is, but why is he throwing this out?
Jules, I think you have a thought on where it's coming from, perhaps, from Agnelli.
Yeah, it's not surprising at all. Andrea Agnelli, he's the, let's say, the leading football director, if you want, to try to go for a Super League. That's the idea that he has, is that you could have a Super League that is close with always the same clubs that, will bring far more money to the club than they do now with the Champions League, for example, without the risk of not qualifying for the Champions League, for example, like in his example, Roma are in risk of doing, unlike Atalanta, who looks clearly like they did last year, qualifying for the Champions League. And I think that's Agnelli's idea. That's a lot of other clubs' idea as well. And so far, UEFA and Champions League have resisted. I've fought that idea to keep the Champions League in the format that it is, although there were already some talks and some sort of pre-agreement that you would have, four Spanish clubs, 4 Italian clubs, 4 English clubs, 4 German clubs, always there, always the same club, qualifying for the Champions League in years to come. So we're not far already from a Super League, but if people like Agnelli have their way, it will certainly be always the same clubs going through to the Champions League, regardless of their finish in the table each season.
They want to close shop, Shaka, apparently.
They've always wanted that. And listen, from the time I saw these comments from Agnelli, that's exactly what I thought. This is a thinly veiled sell of a European Super League. You can't say that, well, because Atalanta had one good season to get into the Champions League for one season. If Roma have one bad season and they miss out for one season, that's fair. That's football. But from the time you start twisting the rules of the game, I mean, either you're posturing for European Super League or you're posturing for something even more sinister, that these big clubs deserve some kind of a boost regardless. And it's ridiculous and wrong, and I think everybody's kind of unanimous in that feeling.
Sid, it wasn't just the message. Go on, Sid.
So I was just going to say that, by the way, that Shaq said the word there. This is football. This is what happens in football. So we don't want teams here who have earned the right to be here. We want teams here who have enough money to earn the right to be here. I mean, look, if you take his argument, which is spurious, just absurdly spurious, if you take his argument to its logical conclusion, what is his argument? Oh, no, we don't want this team in the cup final because they just have one good semi-final. They had one good season in the cup. We don't want them in the final. Oh no, we don't want Leicester winning. Well, actually, a lot of these teams don't want teams like Leicester winning the league. We don't want Leicester winning the league just because they have one good season. These are people who have absolutely no idea what football is. They have no idea at all. They have an idea of what their business is, but not what football is. This is summed up in a phrase. These are people who know the price of everything and the value of nothing.
Go on, Stevie.
No, I'm just, listen, we always have to have an open mind, and things are always changing in football. And so far, it's all changed for the better. The only thing you can say about a Super League is after that, after what Agnelli wants, there is nowhere to go. Because if you can't get in and you can't get out, where does the game go after that? It's the end.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.